Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And hello, everybody. Welcome again. Are you guys ready to rock with us today? Yes. All right. Hit the subscribe button and be sure to rate and review if you have that opportunity wherever you're listening. And so I'm really grateful to have our guest today. I'm telling you, this is really powerful stuff that I experienced personally with Connie here. So Connie Benjamin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It is so amazing to be here.
Awesome. And, when she told me that she can help uncover my hidden story, I was like, oh my God, because I'm intuitive too, I was like, I just know that is just amazing. Like, so important. It's so like almost this, like totally essential, really, ultimately. So, I'm so grateful to share about this and how it builds your confidence, your trust in yourself. It builds trust with your audience and helps you rock your purpose. So let me tell you a little bit more about Connie first before we dive in. Connie Benjamin is a master interviewer, #1 international best-selling author, and international speaker. She is on a mission to help purpose-driven entrepreneurs who feel like the unintentional best-kept secret to cut through the noise of the online space so they can powerfully share their hidden story through her unique intentional interview process, which again I've experienced. It's amazing. Connie's mission is to empower entrepreneurs to fulfill their divine purpose, to uplift their families and humanity through socially responsible businesses. So definitely she comes from that whole space of, not just me and you. It's we're together. We're here to make that big difference for humanity, the world, and everything. And I'm just so grateful for that, and how sincere and real that is for Connie. So Connie, you're definitely a spiritual rock star, rising up further and further, skyrocketing with your awesome sauce of what you're sharing in the world. Let's talk about this whole thing with the hidden story. Like, I'm wondering what got you into doing this whole thing. What got you doing this work that you're calling Discover Your Hidden Story? Before we get into even what it is, like, what got you into doing this sort of stuff that you do?
Well, Daniel, I was reflecting on that sometime a while ago. Somebody asked me, Connie, what about your hidden story? And I said, man, it's hard for me to find it because I don't have myself to draw it out. But I've been able to piece together a few things. And Daniel, one of the things that I've been able to piece together is that I really believe strongly in the power of stories. I'm completely obsessed with stories. And I am because I believe that stories change us. They change how we view our life, how we view what's possible. In fact, they change the world. There's so much research that shows that when a culture changes the story, we change what's possible. We change our outlook. And when I was a young girl, my father got really sick when I was a teenager, and he actually was in a job that he really didn't like. He wasn't living that life that he really wanted, and he had a lot of stories that quite honestly I never heard. He died when I was a pretty young teenager, and that left an impact on me as to how if the stories aren't told, we never hear them. It's potential that they could just go. I'll never hear my father's stories. The second impact that it left on me is that if we are not doing what we feel called to do in this life, it has an impact on our bodies, on our minds, and on our health. And that's something that happened for my dad. He actually got physically ill and really wasn't doing what he loved. And so that began seeds in me at a young age to figure out how to tell the story. I've always been kind of obsessed with the story, Daniel. I mean, it's interesting when I reflect back, but that's where it started. And then if you fast forward several years, then I began interviewing, world-class entrepreneurs. and talking about their story. How did they do what they did? And I heard like the blood, sweat, and tears that went into the work that they did and their passion to change the world. And I thought, man, that's cool. Um, and then when the global pandemic hit, I saw I saw a trend happening, Daniel. I saw these amazing experts that were changing the world in the exact same space as people that were not experts, that threw up a website, called himself a coach, and claimed to be an expert when they're not. And that started freaking me out because I truly believe that at this point in humanity, we need the messages and the stories of the greats, who I call the greats. And Daniel, that's people on a great mission to take us in the direction we need to go. And that's why I do the work that I do. That's why I created the influence interview. And that's why I'm on a mission to help purpose driven entrepreneurs to share their hidden stories.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, a lot of people just don't realize like how awesome they really are. They think that in their story, like their story of their own life, it's either unspectacular or it's been tragic or yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it's got some good parts, but man, it's got a lot of other stuff in it. And that's how the typical person, I would say, thinks. I mean, most people in the field aren't usually like man, they had a high self-esteem as a kid and they've been that way their whole life. Like yeah, kind of suck or whatever. Some of that voice is in there somewhere, right? And
Yeah.
they don't see their brilliance. They don't see like why should I trust myself? Why should I trust my power? Why should I trust that I can influence anybody? How, who am I, after all, the usual sorts of questions. So I think, that's so powerful for people to understand like who they are. I mean, I know that I think it's great that you mentioned with the pandemic. It kind of those big events are like kind of level the playing field in certain ways, right? So it's like, okay, we've all been stripped, so to speak. All right, now who are you? And we get to see who people really are, as they say in adverse situations. And so this is a great time for people to rise. It's like there's so many opportunities at online. It's easier than ever before, really, to thrive. It really is. You got things like Clubhouse going on. You got all these different things. But do you know what to talk about? Do you know why you should even trust yourself? Do you know what your real your how amazing you are and why your story matters so much and how impactful it can be, all these different things, right? I mean, so, I mean, I just think there's so many opportunities. Do you feel that way too? I feel like there's more opportunities for people to thrive than ever. It's just the opposite of what a lot of people might say. Like, I think it's better than ever.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're talking about. I think that there is a shift going on right now in the world, and it really is about how we see the world. And certainly there's some legitimately hard things right now, and there's
Sure.
also some legitimately amazing opportunities right now. I was in Clubhouse yesterday, Daniel, and I was with some of my mentors talking about what do we do in the pandemic? What are some of the choices that we had? And I remember vividly when I heard what was going on, I turned to my husband, Andy, who I know you've met too, and I said, this is time for us to go. This is go time. This is time for us to reach out, get connected with mentors that know what to do, and go. And that's really what we did. We didn't slow down. We sped up in terms of massive action and connecting with people that could direct us in the right way. Because there's been so many times on this journey that a lot of times the world was saying this is the worst, we'll never recover, like this is terrible. But then when I got connected with mentors that had been through major global pandemics before, like
Mm-hmm.
before, I go to those people. I'm talking about the greats, the people that have been there before,
Hmm.
and their expertise and guidance is really what helped us to get through and to see the opportunities that were right in front of us.
Right. Exactly. I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, when people, yeah, that's a good point. Like people that have already experienced so much adversity and come through it again and again, they're the trusted hands, right? So, but here's the thing, it's like, so can everybody else be that trusted hand too, because people have gone through a lot of different things in their life. People are survivors of sexual abuse, physical abuse, maybe racism, maybe, so many different things that people have experienced. I mean, just feeling disempowered as a woman in certain ways. I mean, in many ways, I mean, there's so many things that people have survived and made it through and are been victorious through. I feel in this field, as light leaders, spiritual entrepreneurs and whatnot. And I think it's like realizing in your, by reviewing your story, to realize, wow, I actually have a lot to draw from, that's in that story, and and then you can trust being yourself. So I think what you were saying earlier was like, yeah, there's a few charlatans out there. People are like, are telling you tales and like, they're like, everything is beautiful in the whole wide world, blah, 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 blah. Trust me, buy my products today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're going to love it. You're going to be a millionaire like me. And then like you meet them off the camera and then you have lunch with them like, oh my God, man, I'm done. My whole life's like a dark night of the soul that never ends. And I think that's what you referenced it earlier. I do rant on this a lot. I talk about this a lot. I mean, there's so much of that in the industry that again, I'm sure people keep hearing about now because of people like me. But I'm not I'm not judging them. I'm just saying like that's just what legitimately happens. Like these things are happening, but when you find real people and leaders and mentors that are real people, you could tell they're real. Those are the people that are gonna be the new leaders, because increasingly people are wise. They're just like, yeah, I don't know, this doesn't sound right. Something's off here. Like
Yeah.
we've been doing the online marketing thing for a while now. We know all the gimmicks and crazy stuff, and we're not buying it quite as much, perhaps. And now we're looking for the people that are the people that are real. And I feel like there's an emerging group of people that are very deeply real, but they don't have the confidence. They don't understand the gold that they have to share, and it is in their story. Is that right, Connie?
Yes, yes. There's so much that you're talking about. I'm like, absolutely. First of all, you're hilarious. That is the best. I want a song for every podcast I'm on. That was the best song ever. And that is what's happened. I think that our guard has gone up because of that. To address your other question though about is are we looking for authentic leaders, and are those authentic leaders sometimes not seeing who they really are at times? Absolutely. In fact, it's predictable. Daniel, I love speaking with the people I get to serve, these purpose driven entrepreneurs that know their business. They know their why. People often come to me and they say, Connie, do you help me to tell the story of my why? I say, no, I don't. I help you to tell the story of your who you are and how you've always been meant to do this work. And what's amazing to me is that because I've gotten to work with people that are just starting out, an expert, for example, an expert in the area of parenting, got a book, starting out, has a website, knows what she's doing. She's done this work forever, but kind of getting that online presence, to somebody that's been doing this work for decades, that changed the whole world because of their work. I just did an interview this morning with someone like that. And I've noticed that these amazing people, all you listening right now, you spiritual rock star right now, I know you're one of them, so listen up. That there's this feeling of not understanding how incredible you are, and that happens no matter who the person is. It's consistent. In fact, one of the things that I've noticed, my favorite thing in the world, is that in the work that I do, it's unique. I don't know of anybody else that's doing the work in this way. And I tell you that not out of pride. I tell you that because one of the pieces that we do is tie back the work that you're doing now with who you were as a child and a value that you took a stand for. Now, I bring that up, Daniel, because a few moments ago you talked about how we, there's many people that are doing incredible work in the world that have gone through something hard. And that's what I'm finding, is that as we're going through these stories, these experiences, there's a moment in our lives. It's usually between the ages of 7 to 13, and it's predictable. It's so amazing, because that's when we can remember the moment. That's when it's kind of implanted. It's also when we have that choice of how we're going to deal with it. And what happens is, when we face that adversity in that moment, and if we've got a really strong value tied to something, if we take a stand for it, we're transformed. And we can predictably look back and say all the amazing things that we've done in this life tie back to a value that we have, that we've always had, and the stand we took for it as a kid, or the stand we wish somebody would have helped us take for that value. So it's so powerful when people begin to understand who they really are. In fact, I can't tell you how many times I've actually interviewed people, and they look up and they look kind of confused. And Daniel, this is my favorite part. They look at me and they go, "I want to work with me." And I'm like, "Yes, because you see yourself as you are."
Right, right, exactly. I mean, it's like not too many people. You're right. I don't think I know anybody either that does it the way that you do it. I think there's coaches say, all right, we're going to look at different points of your life and take a look at what those big moments were, and that's going to show you your goal and all that stuff. But what you do is you're interviewing intuitively and deeply into hearing with what they say, and you're discovering new things that I might not think about otherwise. And then the other thing is you do is you're able to reflect back what you're hearing, not just from what they said, but also from what you're hearing intuitively. You're saying, oh, so basically it sounds like this and like that. And I heard this over here, even though you didn't say it. And, you're really seeing the person for who they really are. And it's one of your big gifts, one of your big, big gifts. And then that person then could say, "Oh my God, yeah, that's so true," and it's so liberating to be seen and understood at another level, level of depth that was like you said hidden. It was hidden. I didn't really realize that value I had, and it came from that experience, and that stand I took, or that stand I was hoping someone would take for me. I didn't see the gold in that before. Now I do, and it changes their life. So I'm sorry, I feel like I'm talking for you. I was like, because I experienced so much. So anyway, but Connie, I mean, I really found that that's what's so, as I said, was so titanically powerful about the process. As I gave a testimonial for the interview you did with me, is that I just the pieces I remember, because it was a little while ago now, but I just remember, like, at the time, the feeling of like it builds trust. It does build trust. It builds confidence. Like, oh yeah, I got it going on. Look at how awesome I am, and then there's so much more you can do it from there. But the first thing is that to really have someone that knows how to ask the right questions and really reveal those deeper hidden stories is how I see it. So you're great at that. So what is it that you want? I know you have. Yeah, gonna get you back online here to talk as I keep going on. All right, so I know you have like these four aspects of revealing someone's hidden story. I wanted to talk about that today. So do you want to kind of start transitioning into that? Why is it people miss it so much? And what are the four aspects of the hidden story?
I want to talk about that, Daniel.
Right.
I want to talk about that. I love it. And thank you. Thank you for your kind words. And that is the experience. It's truly profound when somebody sees how amazing they are. And I loved your story. Um, so the four steps of the hidden story is actually quite simple. And I think that a lot of I was reflecting on this a while ago. Why has this not been talked about? Why is this something that's relatively new? And when I reflect on stories that are told in the last little bit, especially for entrepreneurs and purpose driven entrepreneurs, especially spiritual entrepreneurs, we've got the story that's like the surface level story. That's the hero journey that, you know, Russell Brunson talks about, many people talk about, where it's kind of the story of our business. Why did we start the story of our, why did we start our business, and the story around that? Is that good, a good story to tell? Absolutely. However, it's surface level deep. It's not very, it doesn't have a lot of depth to it. Above that is the stories that we know and we usually don't tell. And those, that's kind of the next step up. And the story above that, the one that is so juicy and awesome, and I can't sleep at night because it's so good, is the hidden story. And that's the one that really ties back to who we are, who you are, and why you've always been meant to do this work. So yeah, the 4 aspects of the hidden story I'll go through right now with you. And I encourage you, as you're listening, take notes, grab that pen and paper. I want this to be something that you are taking action on and sharing your hidden story, because it truly is powerful. The first step is to recognize the pain that you went through to learn a lesson. Now, Daniel, we've already talked about that a little bit, that all of us has gone through something. There's nobody goes through this life without a few scars, you know, it's, or learning lessons and experiences and all of that. And so to recognize, what challenge did you go through that helped you to become who you are? What is that? The second part is a value you took a stand for. In those moments of challenge, when your back was against the wall, when you felt like you couldn't keep going, when you worried you weren't enough, was there a value that stood out for you? And it's interesting, after interviewing so many people and hearing so many stories, it's very similar, the values that come out. Often we talk about, I want people to be seen or heard. I wanted to feel loved, or I wanted other people to feel loved. I wanted safety or protection. Those are usually the core values. If we really narrow it down, it usually comes to one of those, or or a derivative of one of those. So sometimes people, I'll ask somebody, what is the highest value you have? And they might say integrity. Now that's a value that's related to wanting to be protected. And if we dive deeper into their story, that will come out. So that's number 2. Recognize the value you took a stand for. What's the one value you would fight for as a kid and now? So we're looking for that consistent value. And I'll tell you a story about all of this and how it ties together too. The third step is looking for that childhood story, the moment that we talked about. Now, when I'm working with somebody, Daniel, as you know, I say I'm looking for a safe story, because I know everyone's been through a lot. And so I'm looking for a safe story to tell, but I'm also looking for a stretching story to tell. The one that you feel like, should I tell that story? Yes, that's the one I'm looking for.
Right.
And it's between the ages of 7 to 13. Now that's a very conscious reason that I'm picking those ages. It's in the age range where you remember the story, even though many people, Daniel, this happens to me so many times. People will say to me, Connie, I don't remember my childhood. I don't remember any stories. And I say, uh-huh, okay, I hear that. And then I wait. And you know what happens when I wait? I seriously will sit. I've sat on live on an interview and waited for a minute, just waiting. And I promise you, an answer comes. And what happens is, this is so interesting. So as you're going through this, I encourage you to be thinking about the answers to these questions now. What's a story that comes to mind? And what happens is, often they'll say to me, oh, I don't know if this relates, but oh, I don't know if this is the story that you're looking for, but, because usually the story will appear unrelated, but it's always the right story. It gives me goosebumps every single time. It's always the right story. So that's the third part. And the fourth part, Daniel, and this is how it ties into sharing your story through your work, is connecting all of that to your mission, what you do, how you do it, and what you're on a mission to change in this world. So those are the 4 steps to telling the hidden story.
Great, great. Yeah, we were talking about this actually. This happens sometimes. It's like one interview to the next, like there's an interconnection between the interviews. So it's like the very last interview that I did, just the last one I did. We were talking with somebody, and she talked about like, well, I remember one time telling about this horrible thing that happened in my life that I'd never talked about on a podcast before, and like I just was so traumatized even sharing it again, and it was really hard, but it was good for me. It was purging, it was healing, and all this stuff. And she says, and I thought maybe it's a disaster. No one wants to hear this story. It's so ridiculous. And then she says, but sure enough, someone who, and I forget what she said, like had written a bunch of books, did a bunch of stuff. She says, contacted me, says, I absolutely loved your story. I'm hiring you. You're like, like literally, that's how powerful our story is. The story itself, and I've experienced that with different stories I've told, and I look forward to sharing more of my more of my hidden story now. But like it's like the ones I don't normally speak, even though I love to talk. But like, yes, normally I'd be like, oh, that doesn't pertain, like you said, the hidden story. Like, but actually, when I think about my hidden story, it's like that, like one of mine. Like, I think it'd be powerful to share because of the given example, right? So can we do that? Maybe that could be like a little demo we can give people and see how it goes. Does that sound okay, Connie? Because you can help me with this actually.
Let's do it. Absolutely.
So when I was thinking about between the ages of 7 and 13, I was like, one of the traumas I always say is like my big trauma in life, and it sounds so ridiculous, but it's like, what? That's it? What? But it was when, and I think I shared this with you during the interview you did with me. I'm pretty certain of that. Was when I was like in fourth grade going, and then I went into fifth grade. So in fourth grade, there was this older kid, right? So you're already like, yeah, I remember this, I think. But anyway, but he was a year older, but he flunked the grade or whatever, and there he was in our grade. I just remember like his energy coming into that grade, and I was just like, I was up to that point, I was happy. I felt like the world's my oyster, kind of, like I already had like two girlfriends at a time. Like I had all this confidence. I mean, it sounds ridiculous at 9 years old, but it was just my life at the time. I just felt, I'm not going to say I was shy still, but like I had confidence. I was fine. And then also this kid comes in, his energy comes in. It's just like because I'm sensitive, right? I'm sensitive energy. I'm like, oh, his energy isn't good, and he's influencing kids in bad ways. And then he come to influence me, be like, do this, do that. And I was like, I like to be a jokester sometimes. So I was like, sure, I'll do that. And I did mischievous things or whatever. And then I remember the next year, it's like he said towards the beginning of the year, I believe, and he's like, okay, take this piece of paper and throw it up at the teacher or whatever. And I was like, I wasn't afraid to do it, but I was just like, I'm tired of this crap. Like, yeah, like, no, I'm not going to do it. And like, he turned on me like instant, like I was his arch enemy from that day forward. Like in a way, like he's just like, I hate you now. Now you will be destroyed. Like that, it sounds crazy, but it was true. And then from that day forward, he'd have other kids pick on me, come after me, kill the plant of mine. We were doing plants, and at the time, I mean, if I was looking at that kid now, I'd be like, listen, it's okay. The kids, just don't let him bother you. But like I was just, I don't think I ever told my parents about it. I was just dealing with this in my own world, and it's like it was just like a feeling of like man, it's like if I don't do what other people want me to do, that have power, then you're screwed. You're gonna get, you're in trouble. Like they're just gonna harass you and all this stuff. And then that's kind of a hidden story of mine, and it's like, but it's always been a thing that really has me feeling like, well, first of all, I would say, like, if one level, if I don't go with my awareness, I'm like, well, I don't know how that could be part of my awesome sauce. Connie, help me out here. You got some more questions for me? Let's do it that way.
I am so grateful for you, and I am so grateful for you sharing this story. And yes, I absolutely. So Daniel, just so you know how my brain works, immediately I start reflecting on the work that you do, because we have had conversations, And
Mm.
then you tell me that story and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is how it fits in.
Yeah, yeah,
So the only other question I have for you, let's look at the value that you took a stand for too. Now we've got the story. So you went to number 3, which is awesome.
hmm,
And I have a sense of that. Let's look at the value. So if you were to, and I know we did this, but for the audience
yeah,
too,
yeah.
be listening right here. And I want you, as Daniel's exploring this, be thinking about your own life. What stories do you have? What value did you take a stand for? So the value that you took a stand for, if you were to think of that one value that's most important to you in the whole world as a kid then and now, and you would fight for this one value, what would it be?
From that one story. Yeah, that's a good one. My mind wants to say I don't know, and I'm sure that's a common response you get from people sometimes, right? Like I'm not sure yet. I think the value is like the clearest thing that comes through is love. Like, I mean, I can't be loved just because I choose not to do what you want me to do. Like, come
Yeah.
on, that's ridiculous. Like, I mean, so I don't feel like I took a stand for that. I feel like I just felt like a victim at the time, sort of. I was just like, well, I'm not going to do it. You can't control me. You can't, you're not going to influence me around this. I'm not going to do it anymore. That's it. You can hate me all you want. It does bother me a lot, but it doesn't matter. I'm not going to be controlled. So maybe it's more like I'm not going to be controlled. I don't know.
Well, okay, so I'm grateful that you pointed that out because exactly what you said there was, well, Connie, was kind of the opposite. Like I was wanting that love, I was wanting that appreciation, I was wanting to not be controlled. So that's what I'm finding happens is when we look for that moment in time, that story, that pivotal transformational story, either we wish that we could have had it and we didn't. Like, so for your story is the perfect example of that. You wish that this bully was not being a bully, that he was being loving towards you, being appreciative towards you, treating you kindly. And he so wasn't. So it's either somebody was acting in a way that we didn't have that value, we took a stand for the value and it changed us, or we did that value and we helped somebody else. Every single time, Daniel, it will always find a story within those 3 realms. So I'm grateful that you pointed that out.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I
Okay,
have
go
an
ahead.
insight around all that. I don't know. Maybe I could share
Yeah.
it now or later, or
Yeah,
yeah,
now
yeah,
love it.
I'll share it now. I mean, because I always wondered in part why when people, because one of the people, the people I always help really, I mean, whether they think they are this or not, they're the healers of the world, right? So when I've worked with healers, like when I had the Academy for Invincible Healers, I'm working with all these intuitive energy healer people, and people would tell me like, well, in my country they say you can't do this work, it's forbidden and all this stuff, and I'm like, that's a bunch of absolute crap. You're going to do that work and you're protected because I said so, and it's absolutely so, because I believe in my intent. I just believe it is. And I'm like, trust me, if you ever have a problem, Iron Jake can take care of that in an instant, because that's how fired up I am about it. I'm just like, no, you're not going to be bullied. You're not going to be pushed around. You're not. It's not going to happen. That's it. So
Love
like that, yeah, definitely got me going on the feeling of like people don't feel like they can be themselves, like people are different and whatnot, like, okay, you're judged, you can't do it and all this stuff, you got to go with the program. Yeah, bullshit, you can do what you want to do. Like, so that definitely screams out in the work I do for sure.
Absolutely. Are you seeing how like you've always been meant to do this work? It's so amazing. Okay. So I've got one more question for you. And the last question I've got, well, unless another one comes up, I'm going to say that because you know me, I got so many questions. But the thing that I'm wondering, Daniel, is if you were to describe the work that you do and the difference it makes for the people you work with in one sentence or around one sentence, what would you say?
Oh, that I do right now, the work that I do.
Yeah.
Well, it shifted probably from the last time we talked a little bit. But yeah, let me get out of my head and what I normally would say. Let me just see what comes through.
Yeah.
Own your power to rock your purpose.
Love it. Okay, love it. Own your power to, and I'm just taking notes. Rock your purpose. By the way, if you're not taking notes and you're watching this, get your pen out. Be taking notes. This is gold. Okay, so you ready to? Are you ready for my interpretation of how this fits into your story?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm going to give you my interpretation, knowing that you're going to have to put this in your own words. Is that fair?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's
Okay.
good. Yeah.
So, Daniel, what I'm hearing you say is that you are so passionate about helping spiritual entrepreneurs, spiritual rock stars, to be able to own their power and rock their purpose. And you're passionate about that because you believe strongly in that we all need to have this love, that love exists within all of us, and that we all have gifts. And you also believe that we don't need to fall to what other people think we should be, that we have an innate knowing of who we are, and that when we step towards that knowing, that's when we become empowered. That's when we can rock our purpose, no matter what the circumstances are going on right now. Now, you're passionate about doing this work because when you were a 10-year-old, you were bullied and you were in a place where you knew who you were, you were feeling that sense of love and excitement about life, and then all of a sudden this energy of this bully came into your life, and you were faced with that decision of, do I submit to what the world wants me to do, or in your world as a child, that is pretty much your world. Having a bully, that's your world. Do I submit to this, or do I have something within me that's greater? And of course, you found that spiritual strength within you. You found that knowing within you. And I think that that's why you're yes, you are taking a stand for love. And I also think you're taking a stand for justice, because
Mhm.
you desire for people to be able to have that justice, to step into their true purpose and their true rock star within, no matter what other people say, no matter what the judgments of others. And you do that because I think that you believe that when people can be empowered to step into their purpose fully, that's how we change the world.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
Did I,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, did I understand that right?
Yeah, yeah, and you're in your purpose, you're in your brilliance and in your rock stardom by the ability to be able to communicate what you just communicated. It just absolutely underscores what we were talking about earlier in the show. You just able to just totally nail it. So yeah, it's totally right on. It's all right on.
Do you see, thank you for those kind words. Do you see how that could be, how it could tie into the work that you do in describing who you are and how you've always been meant to do this work? This is something within you.
Hmm. Yeah, oh, definitely. I feel like it's all part of the palette of what I'm supposed to be continuing to share, and I've already been sharing. It's always there. Like it is always there when I work with my clients. No matter what we say, okay, we're going to work on this or that, in your business or whatever. Like it always comes down to you matter. Yours meant to rock. Like that's always part of the work. It's always part of the work at some level. So yeah, it definitely is always a common thread in there, 100%.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being willing to go through that process with me today. This is so much fun.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's so much fun to be seen and understood, and then that deepens, my sense of like really even understanding like things that are something that was so traumatic to me. I mean, if people were asking, "What's your number one trauma in your life?" I don't know what I would have said earlier today, but I probably would have said that one incident, like because of what, and I didn't even understand why, like so much. I'm like, why was that such a big deal? And then you actually helped outline it. You're like, well, you drew it out of me. Let me put it that way. You actually didn't outline that part, but you drew it out of me. I'm like, oh my god, things were fine until that guy came around. I forgot about that. I'm like, wait a minute, everything was good. I was having fun. I was trusting myself, right? I was trusting myself. And then I didn't trust myself anymore because I let him influence me doing things that I, probably wouldn't do otherwise. And then when I say no, now I'm in trouble. So some part of your brain's probably thinking, did I do the wrong thing? Should I just kept doing it? Oh my God, like it just makes a mess. And it's like, but just to claim your power to realize, hey, I'm doing my purpose. This is what I believe. These are my values, and then to realize that you really matter, because I wasn't great at school and anything, I wasn't I always thought school was kind of silly and not, something was off about it. And anyway, but like, yeah, it defined so many things without me going on and on. It just defined so many things in my life. So yeah, that's so powerful. And now I could utilize that story. Everything that you just did, like, could definitely like be huge in attracting new clients and new opportunities, building new programs if I wanted to, or incorporate it into my existing offerings, like the way I talk about it, what is this whole thing all about? It's like taking a stand, like, no one's going to bully you around and tell you what you got to do anymore. And like, it's going to help me look at all my clients I've had and that they've all experienced that. They were all bullied in some way, right? Like, I'll be able to see it now, whereas I couldn't before. So that's why it's just so invaluable.
I get so excited. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah. So Connie, I mean, I feel like people get it, like we definitely hit what needed to be covered today. So how does this work then? I mean, I'm not really actually 100% clear. I know how I experience things, but I don't know if your work has changed or evolved and how you offer things and how you're doing things right now. But if people did want to reach out to you and to gain value from this hidden story interview that you do with people, how would they do it? And then I would love to know more about like what you actually do with people beyond that. Like, that would be great to learn too. So those two things.
Yeah, thank you for that. So, one way that you can get to that hidden story even more is I actually have a free training, and you can even apply to do a hidden story with me live, which is amazing. So you can go to www.myfirewithin.com/discover. Again, that's myfirewithin.com/discover. And on there, you'll find a free training that goes through how to tell your hidden story, and you can also apply to have your story told with me. And Daniel, I love that you asked me that question of what do we do next, and that's often what happens is when people begin to understand that this is truly the beginning of their hidden story. When I'm working with purpose-driven entrepreneurs, I really am working with them for hours to draw out not just their personal story, but their business story, their customer story. Many entrepreneurs don't have that story fleshed out. In fact, I'm often surprised at how many. I was talking a couple weeks ago with an amazing entrepreneur that is across the Asia Pacific. She's done work in Singapore, Malaysia, the U.S., China, India, and really powerful work. Her business is valued at like millions, I think $500 million, which is crazy, if I remember that correctly. And she was talking to me and she said, Connie, for the first time, I understand all of what I do and how it all fits together. She'd been doing business forever. And so it always surprises me at how that process of drawing out the full story takes us to places that are unexpected. I'm always humbled by that. So how I do the work that we do is the hidden story is kind of the beginning. It's like the tip of the iceberg. And then when a purpose-driven entrepreneur wants to work with me, I help them to draw out the whole story, the business, personal story, the customer story. And then what we do, Daniel, is we actually put it to bite-sized pieces that they can share that story. Because so often they get the story. I remember talking to this one lady I was working with, and she's from Australia, and she got her full story. And then she said to me, Connie, how can I not share this? I'm like, I know it literally keeps me up at night if I can't share that story. And so I help them to put it into a video that has images and music and YouTube videos and social media posts and blogs, just to tell the core story, because that's what I want. I want their core story everywhere. I want them to know it. I want their customers to know it. I want their potential investors to know it. I want them to know them. And that's one of the most effective ways to do it.
Yeah, like I said before, I mean, and I've seen it too, where I tell my story and people are like, I so related exactly what you were talking about with this or that, about your story and all that stuff. And I feel like the more so that's like the one level you're talking about, but then you get into the deeper and deeper, the things that you hide from yourself, you're not willing to remember or go back down those pathways, the most vulnerable things often, almost every single time. It's like, okay, well, wow, I don't know if that's of any value to anybody to know that. It wasn't that great. It didn't do anything for me. I didn't learn anything. I don't know. Did I learn? I'm sure I learned stuff. I'm sure it was really good for me, but I don't know about that story. But like when you start telling that story, then you think the other stories are popping. Like those are the stories I find the most compelling. I've seen this where like hundreds of speakers will get up and do little pitches. And who do you think is the most magnetic speaker that takes the stage? It's the one with the biggest, most emotionally felt story. They're like, they got this thing happened to me. I was raped or whatever it was, but like this big thing, and then the stand they took because of it. I remember this one woman that did this at this pitch fest podcast thing, and everybody was pitching podcast people, and she told this story, and like everybody in the audience like got up and started applauding, and it was because of her mission too, but it all started with this story, and that's what got them in the first place. She said, oh, I want to help a million people in a million ways. Nobody's going to get up and give a standing ovation. Is because of her story. And so there's so many ways that the story is like what who you are is really what you're selling in this case, in a way. I mean, it's that connected piece that leads into everything else. So yeah, I can't I deeply appreciate the work you're doing, and the value of it is undeniable.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You telling that story of that woman getting on stage, Daniel, I realized for the first time how important stories are. I could relate so strongly to that story you just shared, because I was once reading this book by Lynn Twist, and she talked about there's a story of a woman that had been through the most traumatic thing anybody could possibly go through. She lost her family. She lost so many things. And she had been through so much, and she heard about this conference that was, she would have to get on an airplane to go to this conference. And she had no money. She did not have the resources to go, but she knew she had to tell her story. That was all she could do at that conference, was tell her story. This lady sold her clothes. She sold her home. She sold her pots and pans. She did work from morning to night to get the money to get a plane ticket. She got on that plane. She stood in front of that room full of women and told her story. And my question in my mind when I heard that story is, why on earth would somebody go to those lengths to tell a story? Why? Why does that happen? And the only thing that I can come to an understanding of why we do that is a quote by Maya Angelou. And what she says is, there's no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. And that's when I realized the power of the story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, one of the ways I see it is we always say, hey, this whole thing is one of the biggest things this whole thing is about, if not the biggest thing, is it's all about love. Like, I want people to feel that the love that I want them to feel the love, like the people have been traumatized, even if they didn't go through that, like that they're loved, basically is what's being transmitted, and all the things you said, safe, loved, all those things, heard. And then that they feel safe, loved, and heard, like by telling the story, right? So it like helps everybody, like that's the main thing. And I really, I've always said, and I've forgotten at times on my journey, but like I've always said, like really is like transformational artists, healers, coaches, experts. What the biggest thing really like makes you most effective in all areas of your life, including your business, is um, well, one of the most effective things. It's definitely one of the absolute most effective things, if not the most effective thing, is loving yourself. So when you love all of yourself and you're willing to bare your soul in every way, and you realize even more than that, that you're actually being supported through love by loving yourself, like literally that's how you get supported is by loving yourself. It's a total game changer. It's just kind of like your jaw hits the ground when you come to a deep realization of it. You're like, oh my God, this life is amazing. I mean, I just, all I'm being asked is to love myself, and everything works in my life now, and everything works in my business, and it's amazing. So yeah, I mean, uncovering these things and sharing them allows for that to happen, right? It's a portal for that. So there's so many things about this that are so powerful, Connie. It's so amazing. I'm just so grateful that you're so curious about it, and that you're doing this work.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this space to talk about all these things and to be with you.
All right, great. So can you share again with everybody, your gift and how people can reach you one more time?
Absolutely. So you can go to myfirewithin.com/discover. Again, that's myfirewithin.com/discover, and get access to that free training on how to tell your hidden story. And you can also even apply to have your hidden story told with me. You can reach out to me on social media, and I would love to connect with you.
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. Take advantage of that. That's a big yes. And I'm just again just blown away and so grateful for you and the work you're doing, and just your gift. Your gift that you're giving people through your work, Connie. So thank you so much. And yeah, this is a time of show where I usually just take a minute or two to just do a quick tune in on your energy and your purpose and stuff like that. Would you like to receive for a minute or two?
Always, Daniel, always. Thank you for that.
All right. Okay, let me tune in here for a sec. See what wants to come in today. Okay, so I'm hearing many hands makes the work light. So I know that's been something that's been happening, right? Is boy, there's a lot to do, and more hands on deck, right? So I'm hearing that is not only important to getting things accomplished, but it's also important in terms of you receiving more love, you receiving more sense of you're supported, and so this is really critical, really deep, that you're worthy, you're meant to receive this depth of support and love, that your gift is that profound and that deep, and you're meant to receive this deep support. So this is probably the biggest message I have to share. The other thing I'm getting, and that I've been getting throughout the interview, is just that who's interviewing who, right? Today it's kind of funny, but is that you are. I mean, I want to say you should know this. You are very oracle-like. You are so tuned in. You so understand what's going on with people, especially so. That is such a gift, and I would love to see all the ways that, going forward with your purpose, all the ways that could be even doubled down on, leveraged even more, for everybody's highest good, because it's such a strong gift among other ones, but that's one of the big ones. So many gifts, so many things, but I just want to share a couple of things with you today, Connie.
Thank you so much. I love that. Thank you so much.
Sure thing, sure thing. Thank you for receiving. And if people want to check me out, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com, and I have a free meditation, meditate and make money. It opens up your energy, gets you the downloads, gets you connected, gets the energy pinging. You can ask questions and just kind of receive the answers and the attunements you need through the meditation. And I love hearing the stories of how people are making more money just by listening to that free meditation. There's also energy scan opportunity there, etc. You can check it all out at yoursacredpurpose.com. And Connie, you get the last words here. So any last bits of wisdom or anything else you want to share before we conclude today?
Well, first, I want to say you get the chance to talk with Daniel and do that amazing energy scan. Take the opportunity. It is so amazing. I remember how that felt and the impact that it had on me. So I'm so grateful for you and the work that you are doing in this world. And I just want to say, I know your story is so important. There's somebody waiting for it. So I promise you, as you step in and share your story even more, you're going to light up the world, and the world needs more light right now.
Yes, yes. Yes, rock on, everyone. Okay, all right, let's get this thing going to the next level, always, right? So, just more love, more lights, more goodness for everyone. It's all there already. We just want to love ourselves up some more and lap it all up, right? And share it, circulate it with everybody. So, all right, Connie, thank you so much for coming here and providing us with such luscious light and love through what you do and goodness. And we so appreciate having you on today.
Thank you so much, Daniel. It's been an honor to be with you.
Likewise. Okay, all right, everybody. Thank you. We're so grateful to have you join today. Keep on tuning in, and we're going to keep on rocking it here on Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time, everyone. Goodbye for now.
You're listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.